Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions. I hope everybody had a great New Year's. Now here on the channel, we're going to start the year off with a comic book haul video. Now these are books that I'm speccing on, books that will be cleaned and pressed, reevaluated, and hopefully most of these will end up going to CGC to get graded and slabbed. We'll see how they go. Some of the books are for the PC, a lot of them will be for sale. And if you're ever interested in any of the books that I have here on the channel, just reach out to me at my email at collectorauctions@yahoo.com. I can always be reached that way. Or leave a comment on the channel as well. I always welcome people leaving comments on the channel. It helps me kind of evaluate how I'm doing on things. Are these great books? I'd like to give out little pieces of advice. Look forward to people giving me advice on certain things. Do you think I'm doing the wrong things, picking the wrong books? Am I overvalue certain books? It's always hard to tell. I'm a little bit all over the place. I tend to lean more towards the modern books, but there's definitely some older books in here too. But we'll have to see. So let's get started. Now, if you've watched my channels before, you know that I always pre-unbox everything. That way I can just run through the books and talk about them a little bit, not waste time opening up the boxes and things like that. So I'm going to go through the books and we'll go from there. This is X-Men #1. This is Jim Lee's X-Men. Now this is the special collector's edition. It's the gatefold cover and everything. Now I've actually had a couple of these I had a lot of these in my collection, my personal collection, and actually got at least one or two of these graded. I got 9.8s out of that without even a clean and press. So this one I saw on one of the channels. It was only a few bucks, and I'm going, well, let's try it again. So we'll see how that goes. This looked like a really nice clean copy. And that was just from one seller. I made a mistake. I should have picked up a few more books. So that book ended up being a little bit more expensive just because I had to pay the full shipping on just one book. I've tried on Whatnot to try to pick up books, multiple books. That way the cost of the shipping is distributed evenly amongst all the books. But so I did that with another seller here. And I picked up a copy of Stray Dogs, Dog Days. This is I believe it's, I know this is the homage. I'm blanking on, oh, Tales from the Crypt, that's right. Tales from the Crypt homage cover right here. Now, I ended up picking this up from my LCS as well, but at the time I wasn't sure of how many they were going to have, so I just went ahead and pre-ordered one. Well, ordered one from one of the Whatnot channels. And then these are all from the same seller now. This is Department of Truth. This is issue #8. This is the Scotty Young variant cover. And the only reason I picked that up was it was Scotty Young. And then I picked up a copy of White Widow #1. And another one from Absolute Comics, I Make Boys Cry #1. And there's, again, both of those I intend to clean and press, get to CGC. I don't think there's a lot of value in it, but there's a little bit. I try to, the things that are selling for anything over $100 slabbed as a 9.8, I try to keep those on my radar. A lot of these books like this could be, they're not super expensive books, but as long as I don't spend a lot of money on this, I'll be able to make a little bit of money if I get them slabbed. Not a huge priority or anything, though. Now this one's just for the PC. This is Black Widow #12 of the current run on Marvel. Now this one, I already had this issue, and when I went through the boxes the other day, this one actually got crunched in the long box, and wasn't too happy with that. It wasn't going to black cover like that. It already had color-breaking spine ticks, so there was no getting around that. And when that one popped up on the channel for a few bucks, I went ahead and picked up another copy. And then I picked up the Alien #1 from Marvel. I believe this is Patrick Gleason as well. And I think I had this. I have to go back and check because I know I submitted one of the Alien #1s to CGC earlier in the year. as a pre-screen 9.8, and it came back, and I can't remember if it was this cover or not, but it had a real nasty spine tick that I don't remember seeing. But this was, again, just a couple bucks. I may end up sending this one in if it has any value, but for the moment, after I clean and press it, it's probably just going to stay in the PC for the time being, and we'll see if there's any value in this. You know, at some point Disney is going to end up doing a new Alien movie, and some of these books will tend to get hot again, I'm sure. Alright, and then from this seller, now this was an interesting seller. They were not a comic book seller. They deal with comic books, toys, antiques, all kinds of things, and they had purchased a lot of X-Men books. It was a run. It was a complete run from, I want to say, I think about 190, maybe 200, but it went up to, it was basically 100 issues. It was almost issues 200 through 300. And so there are a lot of key issues in there, and it was interesting. They did the whole Whatnot show consecutive. It was one issue right after the other. And yes, there are a lot of issues that you know that I spec on in the X-Men and during this run, and I did not get most of those. A lot of them, they were very nice about showing you the book and going over the condition and showing you the spines to see if there was color breaking, and there were some ones that I really wanted, like issues 234 and 251, the purple covers with Wolverine that had some nasty spine ticks. You could see it on the show pretty easily. 256 with Psylocke. That, it again, just they didn't meet the grade, and I wasn't gonna throw money at them to get a lower grade on some of these. So I tried to stick to ones that look really good on camera. Hopefully I wasn't going to spend a lot of money. There was a couple in here I did spend some money on. But I'll start off and I'll go consecutively. I ended up with X-Men 202. And I think I did this only because it was $2 and it looked fine. There's no spec on this at all, I don't believe. But this one there is. This is X-Men 205. And again, watching my videos, you know this is one of my favorite books. And I've already sent handfuls of these out to CGC. I haven't gotten them back yet, but beautiful Barry Windsor Smith artwork. I love this. I love this issue. Every time I press this book, I thumb through the book and reread the pages. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I picked up an issue of 213 here, copy of 213. This is the Alan Davis, the classic Wolverine Sabretooth battle. Their first cover where they're battling. I love this issue. We'll see. The front looked pretty good. I haven't really pulled it out to see how the back looks. I've been trying to get a 9/8 on one of these at some point. I want that for the PC. All three of the issues where they have the fight, part of the Mutant Massacre storyline. But taking a shot on goal on that. Hopefully that'll be pretty good. Now, this is one that I had and I sold earlier in the year, and again, I kind of go through that thing when I sell a book, I kind of regret it. Sometimes especially when the book ends up getting bigger than it was when you sold it, so you kind of regret that. So this one I spent a little bit of money on. The book looks really nice. This, of course, is the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. And then, like I said, I skipped a lot of issues that I've been buying ever since Baltimore Comic Con in October up till now. 234, 241, 244, what else? 251, 256, 258, 268, and I skipped all the way up to the first appearance of Bishop in 282. Now, I had 3 of my personal copies that I sent out to CGC, got them back. I got 9 6s on 2 of the 3, and the third one came back as a purple qualified grade that, like, what's going on here? And apparently there's an insert that was missing out of that copy. I had no idea there was even an insert. And so hopefully I'd like to get another copy. I'd like to get a 9/8 on that someday. And then I've got another copy of 283, the first full appearance of Bishop. And this looked like a real nice copy, and I had picked up one earlier from a Whatnot auction that looked really nice, and it was really nice until I looked closer and there was a nice little there's a hole in the cover right by the spine, or the staple right there. Can't figure out where that came from. Book looked beautiful other than that. Alright, and then the last thing I've got from Whatnot this last week or so, another copy of Simpsons Comics #1. I love this homage to Fantastic Four #1. I love that. I've gotten two in my PC that I had. I got a 9.8 and a 9.6 on that. Now I've sold the 9.6, but I still have the 9.8 in my collection. This one looked real nice. I took a shot with a new seller on there, and we'll see how that goes. I picked up from the same seller here. I picked up a copy of Dawn #1. And I know that this, if you can get a 9.8 on this one, I know that's $100 to $120 slab every day. So hopefully the market's still there for that. And then I picked up a copy of Wolverine #4 from the miniseries, the Frank Miller miniseries. Now, kind of taking a shot at this. Part of what I'm trying to do is I'm picking up valuable books on Whatnot. It's kind of hit and miss. I'm trying to find super high grade books that I can get that I'm paying a lot less for these days. It's kind of like the same idea as going to buying near mint books from, say, Mile High Comics, and hopefully getting back books that are better than a 9.4 near mint. And this is the way I'm doing things, is I'm specking on books on Whatnot, and I'm doing pretty good on these. Now, this book here, for example, looks really nice. There are definitely some spine ticks down through here, but none of them are color breaking. So at the moment, I'm very optimistic with this, and I'm hoping that these will all be very good books. One of the things I'm also trying to do is I'm trying to find sellers, go back to the same sellers to develop, not that they know me personally, but at least I develop a trust with certain sellers. Hopefully that their books are good enough to keep getting. So, very optimistic about that right there. I'd love to get a 9.8 on this right here. I've got a 9.6 on Wolverine #4, but I'm trying to get a 9.8 on that entire first 4 issues. The 9.8 on #1 is going to be very expensive, so we'll see about that one. I may have to go with the raw version on that and try to work on it myself to get it up that 9.8. So that's an ongoing project right there. Alright, let's move over to eBay. And on eBay, this was one of my big purchases earlier in the week. And this was a big purchase. I spent a lot of money, but not as much per issue as you normally would pay for each one of these. But I put a lot of Fantastic Four 244. And I'm a broken record with this. This right here is my #1 book that I keep working on. I love this book. I love the potential of this book. And I love the challenge of trying to find that near perfect copy of this. And this right here, this batch right here, might be the best ones of this book that I've found yet. But I ended up, like I said, I've got 6 of these right here. And yes, some of them have a little bit of a spine tick, and I know that they're not going to grade out as a 9.8, but if that's the only flaw, maybe get a 9.6. I can live with that. But I'm very optimistic about every one of these, and I think I'm up to, what did I count the other? I think I'm up to 16 copies of this right here. As I said, this is my #1 spec book. This is my #1 book that I'm working on. I have great hope for these. I've submitted in the last order that I sent out, or a couple orders ago, I sent out to CGC. I sent out a couple copies. They are not anywhere near as good as this. I'm hoping it will still fall in that 9 to 9.4 range. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I have much better hope for these books right here. We'll see. Alright, from and then from eBay, from 2 different sellers. I'll just put them up here at the same time because it's the same issue. And I picked up 2 copies of Crisis on Infinite Earths #1. And you might say, well, wait a minute, that's not too much of a spec book or anything like that. And I said, well, no, it's not, because this, and I've got some other books here I'll go over in a second, I am picking up a couple of copies of some really key George Perez books. I'm planning on sending these to CGC for the George Perez signing. He's doing one, I guess it's early February, and I know that I've already got these signed in my PC, but I'd love to get one that's graded and put in the collection. And with everything going on with George Perez these days, it's going to be the last opportunity you're going to have for something like that. And CGC is offering this opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it. I don't know how many books I'm going to send, but this is the book. When I started thinking about George Perez, how many books, what books do you want to get signed by him? And I've got a ton of George Perez books signed. I've got every one of the Crisis on Infinite Earths signed. I've got tons of the Wonder Woman run. I've got Action Comics where he came back and brought Superman back. I've got, trying to think, tons of new Teen Titans signed. And we'll go over some of that stuff and probably more in depth in that video when I get ready to send those out. But this was the book that I said I've got to get this book signed. And then it kind of dawned on me, well, maybe I should definitely get the Death of Supergirl, Death of Flash, maybe those as well. Those are actually bigger keys than this book right here, but to me this was the start of everything. With Crisis, obviously it's issue #1, so I want to get this one signed, and I don't have any copies still in the PC. As I said, I've had one or two signed, and then the other ones I think I've already got in the CGC. They've been in CGC for months, so who knows where they are. So I ended up buying a couple from eBay on that, and we'll skip over to my first stop at my LCS. I stopped off at Cards, Comics, and Collectibles the other day. I had the pleasure of taking a friend from work who's a big comic book fan. It was his first visit to the store, and he kind of went nuts, and he's going to join me on the George Perez signing. And so I know he was going to pick up some books that he might want and everything, and so that's what I did as well. And so that's what I did. Went up there with him, and these are the books that I picked up, and I ended up picking up a Millennium Comics reproduction of New Teen Titans #1. I was like, well, that might be interesting. And it was because I couldn't find the first issue of Teen Titans. It took me a little digging before I finally found a batch. They had a batch of these. So I ended up picking up a copy of that as well. So both of these, I'm going to end up probably sending the first issue here in. Now I know I don't have this signed because I only ever had one copy of this. It's sitting in there in a shop right now. I'm looking at it. I thought about getting it signed, but the condition's pretty bad. I was very young in 1980 and didn't take care of the books quite as much as I should have, so that book's in pretty rough shape. So I ended up buying a very nice copy of that. And as I said, I was also looking for some other things. Like I picked up Crisis #7, The Death of Supergirl. Now I had copies of this and #7, The Death of Flash. I've got that. I still had multiple copies of all of these. I had those still in the PC, but the 2 issues of this, there were definitely some issues with that, creases, things that I'm not going to be able to get out. I'd love to get these as perfect as possible. I mean, it'd be great to get a 9/8 on something, one of these things you send off to get signed like this. But I picked up another copy of that, and as I said, I picked up another copy of number 8, and both of these look really sharp. I'm optimistic that both of these will be the ones that I'll send out. And not that I'm going to send a ton of things. It's not cheap, obviously, but I picked up a couple other issues that really are really nice. I picked up this issue of Wonder Woman, and again, I probably have this signed. This is a great cover. The Challenge of the Gods. This is issue number 10 of Wonder Woman. Beautiful cover. The detail on his covers like that were just fantastic. And then I picked up issue number 22, and this is probably not going to go, but what I loved about this cover, it's so clean that a signature on there is going to look great. He has plenty of room, the signature is going to pop, as opposed to a cover like this, which is fantastic. It's just busy, so a signature is going to get kind of buried in something like that. And then the only other thing I picked up at the store as I'm going through the boxes, I found a copy of Destroyer Duck #1, and it wasn't that expensive. And I'm going, oh my god, that's the first appearance of Gru, the Wanderer, and isn't he being spec'd on right now for, I think it's Netflix? Isn't there a show coming out? There's something going on with Gru. But this was his first appearance. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I'm just going to get this. I'm not going to walk away and let that sit there. So I was real happy to find that. All right, so then the other place I went was Third Eye Comics down in Annapolis, Maryland, and I ended up picking up their exclusive cover to the new Stray Dogs book. You might have you saw it earlier, the regular horror homage cover. This is their exclusive covers. I think this is this one here is Basket Case. I'm not sure what the homage to this one is, but these were both exclusives to Third Eye Comics, so I picked both of those up. And I'm going to set this down because I ended up picking up a few books while I was there. And they had a copy of from Eclipse Comics. This is from the late 80s. And I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I never did. Kumu? I'm not even sure how you say that. But I had almost the entire run of this series. It's a Japanese samurai story. I think Eclipse was reprinting these. I don't think these were original. But I had almost every issue, but I know I never had issue number 1. So I picked up issue number 1, and for $3, hey, that's awesome, right? And then they've been putting up some really nice keys on the wall lately. This one I picked up. I paid a little bit more money on this, but if I can get it to a 9.8, it's going to be worth it. This is Thor number 8. This is when female Thor reveals that it's Jane Foster. So that looked really nice. And then I picked up a copy of Wonder Woman number 63, and this is I think this is where the new series picks up, and this is the Brian Ballard cover. Beautiful cover, and why I picked that up was I literally just sold my copy of this that I had as a 9.6. I had just sold it. Wasn't real happy with that. I don't know why I got a 9.6. It looked great. And when I saw this, I'm going, okay, I'm going to clean and press this thing. Let's see if I can do it again. And it looked really nice. And then when I got it home, I took a look, and light hit, and I've got a nasty crease right here. But I'm going to work with this. I've been having a lot of luck these days with spot moisture, steaming the book a little bit, and working with some pretty serious damage like this. And I'm optimistic I'm going to give this a shot. Hopefully that isn't color breaking. If it's color breaking, I'm done for, but it wasn't super expensive, so plus I had a discount that day, so that helped a little bit on all of these. But those were really nice. But then I found something that is very of the moment, and if anybody is reading, which one is it? It's not Devil's Reign. Oh, I'm blanking on it. Which one is it? It was Timeless. The new Timeless issue came out this week with Kang, and it's actually really good. And I find myself not reading as much as I used to. I spec a lot, and I thumb through books, and I sit down with Timeless, and I love the art, I love the story, and there was a big reveal at the end of the book that kind of, like, I didn't even know that Marvel and this character were connected. I didn't know Marvel had gotten the rights to this character. But the character I'm talking about is Miracle Man. And Miracle Man, of course, is the 1950s British version, I guess, of Captain Marvel. Famous for this right here. Well, not this actually issue, but Alan Moore took this character, deconstructed superheroes as he's famous for, and Eclipse Comics picked it up here. Just absolutely gorgeous. This issue right here, of course, back then he was called Marvel Man, and of course they couldn't keep using that because of Marvel Comics, so it got changed to Miracle Man for this issue, for this right here, for Eclipse. And I found these. I actually have, so what I've got here, I've got issues 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And they did have some of the other Marvel comics of Miracle Man, but I didn't pick those up. I picked up the Eclipse run here, and I couldn't believe it. Actually, when I was looking through the drawer, I had seen this cover right here of issue number 2, one of my all-time favorite issues because of Kid Miracle Man. That's just an absolutely fantastic story. It's a great reveal. You can imagine how if it had been Captain Marvel and his family, this is like the dark version of that. This is really, I love this period of Miracle Man. I wasn't too much of a fan of the Neil Gaiman stories, things like that, but these original ones are just fantastic. The first 8 to 9 issues, just absolutely adore these. But the drawers that Third Eye had this, as you could see through the drawer, so you could see that copy. I knew where this was, and I'm going, oh, I wish they had number 1. So I got in the other drawer, and literally at the very end of that drawer was issue number 1. And this right here is super hot. I think it's trending right now on Go Collect, and I literally paid $5 for this, and looks in super nice condition. I'm super stoked to see that this is there and that it's going to get the recognition it deserves. I don't know how Marvel is going to connect this character. It was funny that the reveal of the logo, the Miracle Man logo here, it reminded me a lot of what I guess DC did with the reveal of the Watchmen, connecting the Watchmen to the DC universe. And it's going to be interesting to see what the repercussions of bringing this kind of character to the Marvel universe is going to be like, because I don't think they've ever seen anything quite like this. I mean, they've got characters like the Sentry, I suppose, but the way this character has been treated, I don't know. It seems like a very interesting mix. I can't wait to see where it goes, but man, I'm super happy to pick this up right here. So this will go into press. I'll probably have to get into the storage bin where I've got my comics and dig out my copies of this, because I know I've got all of these. Probably just one copy of each one, but I've got those. So those were fantastic finds at super low prices, considering that it's going to skyrocket right now. Alright, so the last thing I've got for the week was a personal pickup. I ended up getting it from Heritage Auctions. I haven't been buying from them quite as much recently. It gets quite expensive, so I ended up buying this. This book right here was one of the 3. It's a replacement for my original 3 Spider-Man comic books I had growing up that I inherited from my uncle. Actually, I went into my grandparents' house and found them. They were left behind, but I know they were in one of my uncles. And that issue I'm talking about is Amazing Spider-Man 59. One of my all-time favorite covers. Before I ever knew that Mary Jane this was her first cover appearance, I had no idea, but I love this cover. love this issue. Love John Romita's artwork. I love he's behind the stage. I love she's dancing. It's just an awesome cover. And this book's gotten very, very hot over the years because it's been pointed out that, like I said, it's Mary Jane's first cover. And from Heritage, I would normally get a graded version. To go ahead and pay for the surety that you're getting a very nice copy of this. And the price on the graded ones have kind of gotten out of hand, and for the grades I want. Now, they said this is a fine, and it may end up being a fine, 6.0, whatever, but I'm looking at the cover, and yeah, there are some spots on it here, but I don't see any color-breaking spine ticks up through here. The corners right here are very sharp. This corner's a little soft, but this one's still pretty sharp. And man, I am super psyched for this. One of the things I haven't done with CGC yet is submit books older than 1975. And I'm working on it. There is a stack in the office right now. They're accumulating. I've kind of got to figure out how much of these books I'm going to keep for myself for the PC, and how many are there actually going to be for resale, because these are the books that I want in my collection. And to just do a whole order that's going to stay in my PC, that's pretty expensive to take on, and I probably will do a much smaller order than I normally do. Normally it's a 25 book order, and that's because I'm doing pre-screens and things like that. But I won't be doing a pre-screen on these, but again, the price on the books are going to go up. I think it's, without discounts or anything, I think it's in the $33 for books under 400 pre-1975. So I got some help here. This is lucky. Can I help you? You're gonna knock over the table, aren't you? Okay. So anyway, guys, that is it. That is the end of the video. It's the end of the books I've got for this week. I've got some new books coming in next week from Whatnot. It's the same deal. I kind of watch. I try not to watch all the time. I try to watch probably about 1 or 2 days a week, and I try not to overbuy. That's been very hard because it's very easy to buy on Whatnot. So trying not to watch at all sometimes is very helpful to the wallet. But as I said, I've picked up some really nice things. I can't wait to get the Fantastic Fours into the press. Can't wait to get most of them into the press, but those Fantastic Fours especially, I'll probably have to do a special video someday just on that issue when I get them back from CGC. But anyway, guys, that is it for today. If you guys like this video, make sure that you hit the thumbs up on the video and leave a comment. As I said, always leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the books. What do you think of the ones I'm getting?